Good afternoon and welcome to another one of our discipline dialogue sessions. Today we have Dr. Amanda Sleet joining us. Amanda, if you don't mind, why don't you take yourself off mute here and introduce yourself to the group before we get started?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Amanda Sleet, and I'm the Department Chair for Art Sciences and Education at the Richmond campus. And I teach psychology at the Richmond campus, and I also teach Psych 101 dual credit. So not only on campus, but dual credit class for one of our partnering high schools.
Yeah, so Amanda has probably the most unique setup that we have, or one of our more unique setups, being both a on-campus faculty member and a current dual credit instructor. She also went through the NACEP, is it Leadership Academy? Is that the name of it? But yeah, so
Yeah.
NACEP is our accreditation body. She's gone through, the leadership program there. So a wealth of knowledge and expertise here today joining us. My name is Dr. Mark Schneider. I'm the AVP of K-14 Academic Initiatives and Support with Ivy Tech. I help on at a statewide level with all of our dual credit programming on the academic side of the house. So don't think enrollment or marketing or any of those things, but think, course prerequisites, course sequencing, completions, Indiana College Core, all that type of stuff is in my wheelhouse. So thank you all for joining us. Whether you're here in person or you're watching this on a YouTube recording, we do appreciate you joining us today. Before we get started, we started these discipline dialogue sessions in November, and when it was November, we had what we called NACEP November. As I mentioned earlier, NACEP is our accreditation body that we have for dual credit nationwide. Ivy Tech is the largest dual credit program in the country by about a factor of 3. And we are, I don't know, probably about 20 times as large as the average dual credit program in the country, maybe 25 times as large. So, we're a huge program nationwide. We are in the middle of going through our reaccreditation process or reaffirmation of our accreditation. We're doing a self-study right now. Next year, we will be doing our data gathering. So that includes syllabi, paired assessments, site visits, all that. I say all that to ask if anyone would be willing to submit excellent examples that we can put into our accreditation application. We're always looking for great examples to show off. We need lots of examples from lots of different programs. I'll put my name and email address in the chat here in just a little bit. But if you'd like to be a part of that, we also have a peer review session where they listen to our dual credit instructors. We want our best dual credit instructors to be a part of that. If you'd like to be a part of any of that, just let us know. We'd be happy to include all of you. Very appreciative of that. So Amanda, here, first kind of question or thing I want to ask you.
Mark, before you ask your
Oh, sure.
first question, David has a question and he is wanting to know what sorts of examples you're
Oh,
looking
yeah.
for.
So we look for, we have to have, we turn in examples of paired, so an on-campus example and a dual credit example of syllabi. So think for Amanda, she teaches Psych 101. So we're going to look for an example of Psych 101 dual credit syllabus and then an on-campus one. We want to compare, a peer review team will compare them to make sure that they are as close as possible. Of course, there'll be some differences with high school calendars and things like that, but generally they should be virtually identical. Also, thinking of assignments, whether they are projects, common finals, things like that. Those are the main things that we're looking for right there. But if you have something that's really great, or you have a great relationship with your program chair, that you're exchanging information all the time, sharing examples, those are the types of things that we'd like to highlight. So, yeah, thank you.
So I see two, okay, Brian Mitchell, I see is on here. And is Jeremy Horn, if that's who I'm thinking of, then they would be two dual credit teachers I know who would have like some pretty superb assignments that they could. I'm throwing you Brian and if it's Jeremy, they have some excellent I think, that I've seen that they should probably submit as examples.
Well,
Just an idea.
I put my email in there, and this is being recorded, so we do have, it's on the permanent record here. But don't feel obligated. But if you would like to, submit some of your stuff, it's not something we have to gather right now. But as we get ready for the spring semester, sometime in the middle of the spring, we're really going to go out and identify who we want to work with on all these, so that way when it comes to the data submission year, we're not scrambling around trying to find, that Psych 101 example. It's going to be like, oh, we're going to go with Amanda and the Richmond campus and the program chair, and here's a dual credit instructor, and just get all of that, kind of straightforward in the fall of next year. So we do appreciate all of that. As a former high school teacher myself, and probably a lot of our dual credit instructors, they might not know the ins and outs of higher education. One of the things that surprised me most, Amanda, when I joined the higher education world, was just how much of a role and impact and decision-making power faculty have in their programs. High school setting, it's typically very administratively driven. That's not the higher ed world. Administration does have a role in it, but if it comes to, creating new courses, course prereqs, even certificates, technical certificates, depending on the program and stuff, that's really led by faculty. So at least once a year, all the programs meet in the fall. Some meet 2 or 3 times. Some meet, every semester, fall, spring, summer. But all that to say, either with your committee or some of the other curriculum committees, the programs, the faculty members that are a part of it, were there any discussions or topics that maybe overlapped with, with our dual credit courses that maybe will make an impact in a year or two or anything like that? And if the answer is, really, I think it's going to be status quo for the foreseeable future, which is probably what we've heard from about half of our faculty members, that is always very well appreciated too, because, no change can be great sometimes too.
You were cutting out your very last question. You were kind of cutting out just a little bit.
Oh, was there any anything from the curriculum committee meetings that popped up that maybe overlapped with your dual credit classes or the different programs and stuff?
As far as like foreseeable changes, not anything that is like a really strong force of change coming around the corner. I mean, curriculum is always being updated, but as far as like changes to objectives or content, nothing changes. So kind of as is.
Okay, that's good to hear, and welcomed. One thing that has been brought up in some of
There
our
are a few things. There are a few. Oh, sorry, there are a few psych changes, but for the classes, I don't believe we offer for the courses there are some changes. I don't believe we offer them in a dual credit set, as far as I know. But those would be the only changes that I know of so far.
Okay, that's good to hear. One thing that has popped up in some of our discipline dialogue sessions with some of our liberal arts courses and courses that feed into the Indiana College Core has been a discussion around offering classes, maybe being more strategic in the way classes are offered, I guess would be the best way to say it. And instead of offering a class in a full year format, for a 3 credit hour class, offering it in the fall with one class and then pairing it with another class, like a 101, 102 type situation, things like that. Contact hours, is part of that. Sometimes we'll have like a 5 credit hour class that maybe that impacts some of that. But could you maybe speak to for a minute, some of the ideas or maybe strategy benefits, I guess, of offering a class in a traditional semester format instead of that year-long route and ways to pair courses?
Yeah. So two things kind of come to mind for me. One, since I kind of have one foot on the campus world and one foot in the, um, in the dual credit world at the high school, um, it's really interesting that dual credit teachers really do have more seat time with their students. And so when you take something that's a year long and then maybe reduce it to a semester, you're still getting more time with your dual credit students. So, for example, the dual credit class I teach, I'm with every day, but my on-campus classes, I'm only with 1 or 2 times a week. So I'm able to cover more content, more objectives, more variety of assignments. I get to do that with my dual credit students. Not that I can't or don't with my on-campus students, but there is that an element of variety that I get to do. Another thing that I think of that's really I can really kind of see how it's impacting my current dual credit class load is that these are students who are going to be graduating soon. They're going to be going on to other institutions, and as dual credit instructors, you probably know sometimes the dilemma between okay, I have high school students, but they're in high school, but they're taking this for dual credit. And how do I have the rigor of the college going experience, but still remember that they're high school students? And so when you look at having a class in a semester format, they kind of get better used to the framework for what a semester class could look like on campus, which might be a little bit different because we have 8-week classes at Ivy Tech. And so in a semester, they can kind of go through, go towards completion and towards their certifications or degrees a little bit more quick pace. So I think that while they are probably used to managing semester classes, it's a little bit different when it's a college class. And there are really important, drop dates and things that they have to get used to because that's the way it is on campus, whether they're transferring and going to Ivy Tech or Ball State or Purdue. So those are the two things that I think I see as benefits is of having a class and then offering maybe the introductory version of it in one semester, and then the next level course that just naturally follows the second semester.
Yeah, and just to touch upon the contact hours for those who aren't familiar with a 3 credit hour class, that typically involves 48 hours of contact time on campus. And if you're offering it still in a semester format, every high school calendar and schedule is a little bit different, but say the classes are roughly ish an hour and you're meeting roughly 90 days, you're probably getting somewhere still around 80, 90 contact hours in that semester format. So still ample time to meet all those course objectives and really dive into them and do those extra things that the on-campus instructors wish that they had the extra time for. The full year format, which is still available for some of the classes, that's 180 hours of contact time, or 150, something like that. So triple the amount of time that's needed for it. Not saying we can't do that, but especially as we look at what's going to be rolled out tomorrow with the new high school graduation requirements, trying to get those
Right.
extra classes that are part of the core transfer library that transfer relatively seamlessly from Ivy Tech to other public institutions. There's just a lot of benefit to going.
Yeah, and for dual credit programs, depending on the corporation, if they're just kind of in the novice stages of and having those semester offerings allows options. So, and especially with, if you've, I'm sure, been paying attention to the Indiana legislation and the expectation for the Indiana College Core, it's a faster, I wouldn't say better way of being able to offer, as students as many dual credits and especially credits for their pathways.
Yeah, meaningful credits is what we're always going
Yes.
for. Not those random acts of dual credit, but yeah, that's just a way to offer more meaningful
Right. Like there's a goal,
credit.
there's like an end goal in mind that you're just not taking these random classes, that it is a working towards something. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of other things I'd like to touch upon before we get to the Q&A from the group. Um, Elise, I know you'd be familiar with the psychology, but for some of the other programs that you help oversee, um, are there common assessments that are associated with those courses? And I know common assessments, depending on the program, can widely vary. Oftentimes it is a final, but not always. Sometimes it's
Right.
a 10-question assignment in the middle of the semester that people can access with through Ivy Learn, things like that. But are there some common assessments that you're aware of that dual credit instructors should try to utilize if possible? Of course, always in conjunction with their program chair. That's how you should get that guidance of how to implement that correctly. But anyways, just kind of some general thoughts about common assessments.
Yeah. So,
And Amanda, at least for me,
something that
you're
I
very
do
choppy.
with dual credit, and
Amanda, can you hear me?
I can now, but you
Okay.
keep cutting out a little bit.
I
I
think
wonder
it's,
I
I
wonder if
think,
you turn off your video.
I think
Some
it's the other way around. I think it's your
Oh,
internet
you think
that's,
it's me?
yes,
Okay.
I'm getting lots of head
Okay, let
nods,
me
but
just turn off my
yeah,
Oh, is it? Okay. Oh, sorry.
yeah.
All right. So hopefully
It's
I just
not
turned
me,
off
it's
my
you, or
video.
it's not you, it's me, type of
Yeah.
situation.
Okay. So I
Anyways,
just turned off my video. So hopefully that helps.
okay, you
Okay.
sound very clear, at least for the time being.
Okay. All right. So something that I do, and I'm happy to share this, kind of how to do this with any dual credit instructor, even if you're not in my local area. But something that's really helpful is that dual credit instructors have access to what we call the commons area. And the commons area kind of is literally what it is. It's a common area where faculty and adjuncts can upload sample tests, sample assignments, sample lecture notes, sample projects. And even if you don't utilize your Canvas course as far as having students access modules and assignments and tests in Canvas, you can still download and import those types of assessments and assignments, especially if you're kind of stuck. Like, how do I teach? How do I um, help students navigate psychosocial development? Um, so that's one place. The second probably important avenue for getting common assessments and finals is through your content experts. And so if there is not a person who is a specific content expert, we can get you in contact with members of curriculum committees who I know would be happy to provide different types of assessments. So if you're thinking, I wonder if this chapter test is likened to what students on campus see, and you want to see a sample test or a sample quiz or a sample project, a sample paper, then everyone I've talked to so far has been very happy and willing to provide lots of different sample assessments. And so all you have, if there's just something that you're thinking like, I need this, I have a gap in this content, you just reach out and say something, and probably I would be pretty confident, and you would probably be given an overabundance of resources. So there are lots of different ways of getting common assessments and finals, and actually I would, since we're talking about finals, I would also just be very clear with your content person, or your liaison at your local campus, if the expectation is that the final exam that your dual credit students complete, does that have to be the same as what students on campus are taking? So when in doubt, you can talk to a department chair, you can talk to your content expert, you can talk to anyone who's done onboarding or syllabus approval, and they will be able to answer those questions for you and get you lots of materials.
Yeah, and in the chat, I did put when we had our English and Comm discipline dialogue a few weeks ago, the program chair was able to show real quickly how to access some of those free materials in the comments. It's towards the end of the video. I put around the 27-minute mark. It might be 25, it could be 30, but somewhere towards the end, there's like a little 2-minute tutorial of how to go through and access it, so that way you can download those materials for the Canvas courses. There is a question about if the head of the department, your program chair, faculty member, or liaison from the college can share their Canvas class with the dual credit instructors. Generally speaking, for a lot of them, we cannot, just because with our on-campus courses, a lot of the embedded material is paid for, like the textbook type stuff. It comes with a cost, and that's paid through the tuition and the book fees and other things like that. And with dual credit courses being free, they don't have those dollars behind it to support the things that are behind a paywall, I guess, for lack of a better term. So that's why the Commons is very helpful, because all of those free materials that other dual credit instructors have created or our faculty members on campus have created, that's free and without the paywall issues or anything like that, you can download those and utilize any of them in your class. So do check out that video, though. There's for everyone's sake of time, instead of going through it step by step, just watch that. And I think we have another video on our YouTube page. I'll pull that up and try to put it in the link when I email it out as well.
There is a question, there was a preceding question to that one. The comment area in Canvas is not always useful, especially because sometimes the materials are not available or they are locked. If it's in the Commons, it shouldn't be that way. I mean, it should be available or it should be unlocked. So that's kind of a new one for me. I've never come across in
Yeah.
if you want to like elaborate in the chat, and we can figure out a way. But I will say this, and Mark, I don't know if you can answer or add additional detail, but we do have I do believe if a dual credit teacher wants it's called like a sandbox, so to speak, in Canvas, that IT at a campus can provide it as a way of like, okay, I don't know where to import this, but I can import it into this sandbox shell. Am I correct in that, Mark? Because I know we've done that at the Richmond campus.
Yeah, they do have that, and every dual credit course actually has a course shell in Ivy Learn that people can access. Like, it doesn't even need to be a sandbox. There's
Okay.
um, with the CRN, everything generates a course. It's largely blank, just because schools prefer to use whatever their own learning management system is, in the high school. And not every student knows their Ivy Tech email and all of those different things. But there is a blank course shell that instructors can use to download all these things and bring it in. And then also I did find our YouTube video of how to import content from the comments. I'll put that in the chat right here for everyone to save that link, so that way they can look at it as well at a later time. So all that, I think 100, like Amanda said, I think it's all completely free. If there's something that you find that isn't for whatever reason, either reach out to your program chair or send me an email and we'll look into it a little bit more to see what the issue is. One other thing, Amanda, here before we do Q&A, we've gotten some questions about what site visits look like. And I think it's more, a lot of high school teachers kind of take it from the perspective of the, formal classroom evaluation that they're used to with their principal or assistant principal. And on the dual credit side, it's not like that. Yes, we are making sure that the course content is being reached or being met, and that there's the rigor and integrity behind all of the content that's in the course. But it's very much a collaborative, collegial relationship
Yeah,
between
yeah,
two
definitely.
professionals. Um, and I know a lot of our dual credit instructors often kind of show some hidden tricks of the trade, especially from the pedagogy side of teaching for our faculty members. So maybe just real quick, kind of touch upon what you look like or what you look for in a site visit. What are some of those things? What it typically runs like, anything like that?
So ideally, a site visit process runs something like this. And I'll first of all say it is not evaluative in nature. It's not punitive, unless it's just disastrous and, students aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, or there is no syllabus, or course objectives are not being followed. Um, but when I do my site visit, I will usually reach out to um, a dual credit instructor, of course, to come up with a time to come in and visit. I mean, that's exactly what it is. It's just a site visit. It's not an observation. It's not an evaluation of teaching. It's just to look at what are students in the dual credit classroom doing, how are they interacting with content, how are they covering course objectives. And so what I will do when I'm doing a site visit is I will ask, first of all, I'll email and we'll set up a time. I'll ask to see the syllabus, and I will also ask to see a sample test, a sample project paper, a sample rubric, just so I can, get an idea of is what students are seeing and learning in the high school comparable to what they're learning and experiencing on campus. And with the site visit form, the site visit individuals who are the individuals who are doing the site visits will probably take notes on the different things that just happen. And so you're probably used to like observations being scripted and looking for standards and looking at measuring student learning. And in a similar way, we're looking for similar things. We're looking at how students are learning and interacting with content, and just making sure really it's equally to see and offer any assistance or help. And I always say to dual credit instructors, are there resources that you need? Are there sample assessments that you need? Because that's a really good time to have a conversation like, I'm really struggling with these objectives, and I'm not really sure if what I'm doing in the classroom is comparable to what students on campus see. And then it's really important to kind of pay attention to those reminders after a site visit happens in dual enroll. I know that we can kind of sometimes, I mean, sometimes forget about dual enroll because unless you are in there hitting deadlines. But the site visit is really to capture an idea of what is happening in the classroom and to offer assistance if any assistance is needed, to take a look at the textbook that you're using and to offer any support. And that's really what the site visit is for. Those notes are then captured in dual enroll, and then dual credit instructors are given notice about those items. And I always tell my dual credit instructors to definitely make sure you read through the notes, because I don't want to surprise you, and I don't want there to be anything in there that you don't know that I'm writing about. And then it's just follow up afterwards of making sure that you're acknowledging and doing everything when a site visit is scheduled in dual enroll, asking questions, asking about resources if you need resources. And so really it like Mark said, it is meant to be a collaborative effort, just to make sure that you feel supported, you feel prepared, you have the resources that you need for your dual credit students.
Real quick before we open it up for Q&A, just a few reminders for our dual credit instructors. The professional development modules, an accreditation requirement to be completed annually is due April 1st. So you have 5 months to get it done. But as Christmas break's coming up, if you have some time over the break and holidays, try to knock that out. Typically takes about 2 hours to get both the modules done. So we appreciate you doing that accreditation requirement. And then also, just a few perks of being a dual credit instructor. We do offer 6 credit hours for free to our dual credit instructors, their spouse or dependents each semester. So your children are eligible for it too. It's 6 hours in total though. So not 6 hours per person, but 6 hours total. But if you do have a child who is attending Ivy Tech, that can be savings of around $1,000 or more each semester. And then also, you can download the Microsoft Office products for free as long as you have an Ivy Tech email address. That typically runs a little more than $100 a year for a subscription. So do keep that in mind as well. It's a way to save a nice $100 every year. Just have a Ivy Tech email to keep all of your Microsoft Office products going at your home. So with that being said, Amanda and I have talked here for about a half hour, and we want to open it up for any Q&A or comments, concerns, anything that any dual credit instructors on the call would like to ask. I'll give everyone one more minute here to kind of think about a question that they might have. Yes, Brian, to your question in the chat here, we just need the assignments, not the student submitted work or anything, just the assignments themselves for an ASAP application. We do always like to end these dual credit discipline dialogues with a thank you to our dual credit instructors. There's a lot of extra things that go into being a dual credit instructor, whether it is submitting a syllabus or doing a site visit or doing the PD modules, all of those things that go into it. And oftentimes it's done by our dual credit instructors out of the goodness of their heart, even though it requires extra things above and beyond their normal teaching load. And it's really making a big difference in the lives of their students, whether it is our 95,000 dual credit students across the state or about the 10,000-ish completions we're projecting this year, a good many of them being Indiana College Cores, allowing those students to save a year of tuition and time going to college. There's just so many benefits to students. Last year, $111 million in tuition savings by the high school graduating class. I mean, just huge numbers right there. And the backbone of all of that are our dual credit instructors, or nearly 4,000 of them with Ivy Tech across the state. So a big thank you to all of you who are dual credit instructors. David, I do see you have your hand up politely raised, so I'll let you ask your question or
So I've been teaching dual credit at a high school called Cascade High School for about 10 years. And so I've had several families, I've had their entire families go through my classes. And one of the things that I try to do, I have a semester and team project where they create a video. I teach American government. And so my question is, what I'm interested in developing soft skills, such as team collaboration and learning how to create videos and things of that nature. And so I'm wondering if anybody else is doing that sort of thing. One of the high schools that I've taught for is Decatur High School. And when I first started doing the dual credit stuff, they had a course on how to create videos. And one of the videos was shown on one of the local TV channels. And that's what got me to thinking that using video projects and things of that nature, I'm wondering if anybody else does that. Do you guys do that on campus for any of your courses?
I'll let Amanda talk. This is more in the realm of academic freedom. Amanda, do you have any guidance on those types of assignments or the kind of the creativity and soft skills to reaching the
I
objective?
can definitely hit on the soft skills. And I think that anytime that you can incorporate soft skills training in your curriculum is much, much, much needed. And I say this because I am on campus and in the high school setting. And before I came to Ivy Tech full-time in 2018, I taught for 11 years in the high school setting. And something that I have seen from experience and hear from several dual credit instructors is that you have more and more students high school students who are earning more and more. And so starting when they graduate high school, they're starting college, wherever that may be, with more credits than students did 10, 15 plus years ago. But what they are missing are some of those soft skills. So for example, time management is a huge component. You know that high school students accountable for time management. It's even more of an important task to try to work on with dual credits, because there's, there are time components, especially with deadlines that impact financial aid. And they're not thinking about that in a financial aid aspect because they're high school students, but they need to start thinking about those things. Another thing is anytime you can incorporate formatting, anytime that you can incorporate writing and how to professionally write in a way that you don't mirror or borderline plagiarize, that is an incredibly helpful skill. There are much more punitive measures when our on-campus college students intentionally or accidentally plagiarize. And so by exposing them to how rigid it is, so to speak, that's another skill that they need. Advocacy, how to advocate for self, because they're not going to have a bunch of people just following them around saying, what do you need? How can I help you? Let's make sure you're on track. There's less of that on the campus. In college, I should say, I think that what Ivy Tech has that a lot of students don't get necessarily at four-year institutions is that faculty and advisors are very much involved in students' day-to-day life, as far as reporting, as far as grades, about helping keeping students accountable and on track. Those are some of the skills that are really important that I see, even sometimes when I will have my dual credit students in the high school and they will start at Ivy Tech and I'll have them in some 200 level psych classes. Those are skills that they need, that they're in college in a traditional 2 or 4 year institution. If they're starting with a lot of credits from high school, they're still in a way young learners, and they have a lot to learn about the scope and sequence of college and deadlines and advocacy and writing professionally. And I see those are just a couple things that I see as really great things that anytime you can incorporate that into which I know Brian Mitchell does. I know Brian is very good about making sure students are very comfortable with APA formatting. And so I think that anytime you can incorporate those skills. Now, I'm not technology oriented. Like, I like me a good paper and paper and pencil kind of gal. But I think that also when it comes to technology and research and how students can build credible research instead of just, oh, there's this TikTok video or this video that's just, has very little substance. So I don't know if I know it doesn't directly answer your question as far as like videos and how teaching students how to create videos, but I think that there are probably some content areas, not so much in psychology, but that's more useful in other content.
I teach American government and economics, and so we incorporate a bunch of current event stuff in the classroom discussion. So that's good. And one of the things that I've had a good relationship with other Ivy Tech teachers, including the English department folks. So I collaborate with them in terms of explaining how I want a professional paper done. I've written professional papers for a living, among other things. So that's important.
Yes. That's it. Yes. And it's a skill that it doesn't matter where they're going in, to be able to speak clearly, to write clearly, to think critically. Anytime you can incorporate those skills, it doesn't matter if they're going to become a doctor, a welder, a teacher, a psychiatrist. Those are skills beneficial to every human being. So anytime you can incorporate those are excellent learning moments for students.
And David, I appreciate all that you're doing as a former government and econ teacher myself. That's always good to hear. And, anything that you or any of our dual credit instructors can do to make them more well-rounded, better lifelong learners, not only learning the course objectives, but just growing and maturing as a scholar and as a person, all of that is always welcome. So we do have about 2 minutes left here. If anyone has any other quick comments, we can get one more in. And if not, we'll end our dialogue session. Okay. Well, thank you all for everything that you're doing. If you have any questions, just reach out to myself or Amanda or your local program chair. Once again, we thank you for all that you do for your students, and we look forward to completing another great semester and rest of the school year with you. So thank you very much and have a nice rest of your day.
Thank you.